Welcome to the IT Career Energizer podcast. For anyone who wants to build and grow a career in IT, develop and improve your strengths and skills, be inspired and motivated by the successes of others, manage your career progression, and achieve your IT career goals. And now, your host, Phil Burgess.
Welcome to episode 45 of the IT Career Energizer, a weekly podcast where I chat with inspiring IT professionals, consultants and experts from around the world. To find out more about the podcast, visit itcareerenergizer.com. And remember to subscribe to get new episodes automatically downloaded to your device. And now let's chat with today's featured guest, Christian Posta. Christian is a chief architect of cloud applications at Red Hat and is well known in the community for being an author, frequent blogger, speaker, open source enthusiast, and committer on various open source projects. Christian has spent time at web-scale companies and now helps companies create and deploy large-scale resilient distributed architectures, many of what we now call microservices. He enjoys mentoring, training, and leading teams to be successful with distributed systems concepts, microservices, DevOps, and cloud-native application design. So Christian, can I ask you to expand on that summary and tell us a little bit more about yourself?
I'll be happy to. That was pretty expansive, though. That was a mouthful. So I guess what I do, my day-to-day job, is I work for a company called Red Hat. We're a open source software company. And I travel to our customers and I help them build applications, build for the cloud. The cloud is here and it's here to stay, and people are moving their applications to the cloud, and there are, building for that environment is a little bit different actually quite a bit different from the way we've done in the past, and so that's kind of where my background is and how I help our customers.
When I hear Red Hat, I immediately think of security. Yeah,
security. So we're an open source company. We build our products from the innovations that we drive in the open source communities, and we support them in a long-term, supportable kind of way. And what we do is we get deeply involved with these communities, whether it's from Linux, the heritage of the company, to the vanguard of technology movement today, things like Docker and Kubernetes and networking and security, the things that enterprises, if they're going to build on top of, they're going to care about, and that's where Red Hat brings the expertise to make open source work in an enterprise environment.
So you're really on the front line or the edge of innovation in technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think every company needs to figure out a way to be innovative. And luckily, our core founding and the heritage of the company is in open source, which is sort of leading the innovation field. And it's interesting because people can just go out and try to do whatever they want, right? They don't have to ask for permission, and they can just try to see if an idea works, and that's kind of how innovation takes place. You don't really know. You just go off and try a bunch of things, and eventually you get to hopefully get to something that delivers some kind of value.
Yeah. Christian, can you share a unique career tip that the IT Career Energizer audience need to know and probably don't?
Yeah, well, I don't know if they, I don't know if they don't, right? They'll have to decide that. But one thing that I've found useful to think about technology and a career in IT is it's less about, people with 10 years, 20 years, lots of experience doing all kinds of various things. to me, it's been less about what are the things that I know, and because technology changes so quickly, right? There's always something new. But I think working on the skill of being able to learn has been the important part of at least my journey. To be able to learn, to be able to pick up new things, that to me has been the important thing. Not, well, what have I learned, or what have I learned today? Although that is important, but just the ability to learn and not be afraid to introduce new concepts, new technologies, and to question the way you did things in the past, and just continually learn.
Yeah. In terms of the way you go about doing that, do you have any particular techniques or advice that people could potentially follow?
Yeah, I think what I've done in the past is, I guess there's a couple different approaches. One is, pick the easy things, pick the starting points, and sort of move up. I have I guess the approach that I've taken is find the hardest thing and struggle through that, and maybe learn a little bit about the hardest thing, and then work back from there. So I guess it's a bit harder that way, but it challenges you, right? It forces you to engage deeper than maybe just learning the easy stuff.
Christian, can you tell us about your worst IT career moment and what you learned from that experience?
Yeah. So I joined a small open source company before Red Hat named FewSource, and I joined as a consultant around a handful of open source projects. And the company sold support and training and consulting services to enterprise to help them be successful. I went into so this was, I don't know, maybe a month or so into my career there, and I was asked to go to a client, which seemed fair. That was my job, and to work on these particular software projects. And when I got there, it was immediate to me that the client knew way more about these open source projects, because they're open source. Anybody can go look at them, contribute to them. Way more about these projects, and had been using it for a year and a half, was deep into the code, and just I felt like, well, this person obviously knows way more than me. Why am I here? And the worst part of that was that person was very understanding, which was great. That was awesome. They were understanding. They were patient with me, because part of the value, it wasn't just the consultant or whoever's on the ground, but being able to work with the people in support, people in engineering, the people who wrote the projects, have access to those people as well. So there was still some value to be had there, and he was very patient with me, and I appreciated that. But the worst part was, since he was so far ahead of me, and since he knew way more about these projects than I did, I had a very difficult time even understanding what he was asking me to be able to relay back to support and engineering and the other consultants and so on. And this was a really hard time for me, because I felt I took very seriously the role of being a consultant. I was one of about 8 different consultants, and they were all absolute rock stars and standout, and still are. And so that was pretty hard for me to go into this serious situation and not be able to provide value, not be able to help, and I was only there for a week or so, having a short amount of time to even try to figure out how can I help. So that was pretty hard.
So what in particular did you learn from that?
I learned, this was actually a big point in my career, because I contributed to open source a little bit in the past, and I'd been interested in open source communities and so on. But that experience, I was very uncomfortable, very almost ashamed that could happen, and I took full blame for that, and from there I just started I did what I said earlier. I figured, okay, what's the hardest part? What is the hardest project? What is the hardest sub-project inside of that project? I'm going to go work on that and try to make sure that this never happens again. And from there, I became involved in some open source projects, became committers and contributors to those projects. And next time I saw that company, I was able to help them a little bit.
Can you now maybe take us to your career highlight or greatest success and tell us about that?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've always wanted to learn, and I absolutely encourage people to look at it through that, not what you know, but your ability to learn. That's one thing. The second is not to get too comfortable. I've noticed when I've gotten too comfortable, then I've sort of prodded myself to leave and to find more challenging work. But as part of joining for the company I mentioned, FuseSource, my goals after a little while became, hey, I want to become a committer on some of these open source projects and actually contribute and be part of a community. I want to speak. I was and still am kind of quiet. Tend to be on the more of the shy side. But the idea of getting up in front of a crowd at a conference terrified me, and I thought that that would be a good good challenge. And then the third thing was to do some public writing or author a book or contribute to a book or something like that. So I think all three of those things, it absolutely took time. It took a lot of hard work, not surprisingly. But I accomplished all three of those. So I would say become a committer, write a book, and speak at conferences. All three of those would be sort of challenges that I was able to meet and would be career highlights.
Yes, definitely. Sound like significant successes. So what excites you about the future of the IT industry and careers in IT?
I think a couple of things. The first thing is probably the cliche one. IT keeps changing. It keeps, at least for me, becoming more and more interesting. There's always new things to learn. But even more, economical one is that IT is becoming the way companies differentiate themselves. Their ability to compete it has become and is continuing to become rooted in their ability to be very good at IT and building new software systems and connecting with customers and understanding feedback, collecting data, interpreting the data, all of these things. So not just that IT keeps changing, and as a geek, you could say, staying interested in that, but the companies and how they're going to continue to compete and make money, they're turning to IT and leveraging IT a lot more. So from a career perspective, being able to be financially successful and do what you love, I think that it's a great opportunity in IT.
We're going to go into the reveal round now. Are you ready for this?
I will see. I think so.
Okay, so what first attracted you to a career in IT?
Actually, it was back in the 90s when websites and HTML came out, and I thought, what's this? Let me try this. And it seemed pretty creative. The idea of being able to create something from random scratches on the keyboard or like ones and zeros was pretty intriguing.
What is the best career advice you've ever received?
I think it is if you wake up in the morning and you care more about making money or closing a deal or being coin operated than go into sales. If you wake up in the morning and you feel like you want to be challenged by technology, you want to solve hard problems, then stay in technology. So I've not been interested in going into sales.
If you were to begin your IT career again right now, what would you do?
I think I would do the same thing I did, I think, but I would pick, what are the hard emerging, what are the difficult technology areas, and I would think things like artificial intelligence, blockchain, these emerging technology areas. I would focus on those and try to, even if I learn just a small percentage of anything, I think that would be very useful, and I'd learn something.
What career objectives are you currently focusing on?
I would say, continuing to learn. There's lots of new stuff to learn. But I really enjoy my day job of helping companies. I mean, it sounds silly, but it's not just because companies are made up of people. And I like helping people. And so meeting with these different organizations or different IT groups who are looking to bridle some of that technology and make themselves useful inside of their organization. I'm focusing on the best way to communicate and to scale, training, ideas, simplifying things, those sort of things for our customers, for Red Hat's customers, or the folks that I work with. Really, I don't look at them as customers. I look at them as people that I can help.
What's the number one non-technical skill that has helped you in your career so far?
It was a challenge. It was definitely a big challenge. Even today, when I go up in front of a crowd, you get butterflies. But pushing myself to do public speaking, I think that's been the number one skill that has absolutely helped me.
Christian, can you share a parting piece of career advice with the IT Career Energizer audience?
Yeah, I think maybe 20 years ago this would have been a lot harder, but today there's just so much access to technology. Technology is free. As a developer, for example, you can learn Java, JavaScript, Golang, and these are all free. You can go online. There's so many resources. Get involved in open source communities. Another big thing that has absolutely helped my career is getting involved in open source communities, meeting the people that work in open source are some of the smartest people in the world. And I would say although there's some horror stories, I would say on balance, they're almost all really, really nice. And they want to cultivate and get people in and allow them to help and so on. So I think getting involved in open source and taking advantage of all the quote unquote free resources that we have on the internet to learn technology, I think those are you got to do that.
And finally, what's the best way we can find out more about you and potentially connect with you?
Yeah, I would say I blog regularly, blog.christianposta.com, and I follow technology trends and so on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @ChristianPosta, and feel free to reach out to me anytime. Twitter's probably the best way, and I try to stay engaged and respond to anybody or everybody that reaches out. So,
Christian, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. It's been great chatting with you.
Thank you, Phil. It's been my pleasure.
My thanks to Christian for sharing his advice and experience in today's show. You can find full show notes at itcareerenergizer.com/E45. In the next episode, I'll be talking with Phil Hack of GitHub. To get this and future episodes automatically downloaded and available to play, simply subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, Stitcher, or whichever streaming service you're using to listen. And remember, if you're not growing your career, you're slowing your career. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.
Thanks for listening to the IT Career Energizer podcast. To find out more about building a successful career in IT, visit itcareerenergizer.com.